Hello everyone and welcome to another video here. Christian, joined by my good friend Jonathan once again, just
Hi
like I
guys.
said in my previous video. So for here, we are going to talk about the transfer market, and there were plenty of deals that have happened with Serie A clubs. So with Jonathan, we're really going to delve into a lot of these deals, choose our winners, some losers, and maybe some that we're not quite sure yet because we have to see them play. Because it's hard to really determine how the transfers went, especially if a lot of these teams haven't really played with some of the new signings as the window just closed in the recent couple of days. Jonathan, just some quick thoughts on some quick of your own thoughts on the transfer market before we actually really get into it.
Well, I really think that unfortunately Serie A is gonna get significantly weaker this season, technically speaking, and in at a level of competition as well. And I think the biggest losers at a first glance are Juventus and Inter Milan, obviously.
So definitely some quick thoughts there. Thank you very much. So it's time to get into a lot of the teams. Now with certain teams, honestly, there's again 20 teams, and for us to really go in depth about every team is would take us all day. We are going to look at each team, but do some quick tidbits about some of them, and then go more in depth with some other teams. So let's get right into it and start. We're going to go in alphabetical order, unless Jonathan, you want to start with a certain team. It's definitely up to you. Would you want to
Let's
start from the
go.
top?
Let's
All
go however you want. For me,
right.
I'll find it here. I'll find myself here.
All right. So you know what? Let's just make it easy. Go from alphabetical order. So that means we do start with Atalanta. And as we know, their objective is, of course, finishing top four, as we've known them to do that in the last few years. They're becoming more of a top four team, and they're definitely trying to do it. So we'll start with their a lot of their key departures. You know, they actually re-signed. They only just kind of re-signed Christian Romero, who won Serie A Defender of the Year. Then they go to sell him to Tottenham, loan out Golini to Tottenham. I feel like I'm missing someone else. Kovalenko didn't play as much as he did join in January, so he went out to Spezia. And they had some minor loans here. From what I see, not many other very big departures. They did manage to keep Duvan Zapata, Josep Ilicic, so that was important for them. But then going in their arrivals, you know, they replaced Romero with Demiral from Juventus with an option to buy. They brought in Lovato, who had an excellent season with Verona, experienced defender in Pizzea. Zappacosta, who was a former player and did really get it going at Atalanta. They signed a young player in Coop Mainers, if I'm even saying that right, and replaced
Yes.
Golini with Musso. So they did. I feel they really covered what they needed and really kind of strengthened their team more. But they definitely did get cover what they lost and managed to keep a hold of their strong players, which I feel is was important to a club like Atalanta.
Well, I agree with you, especially if you see how much they spent and how much they actually earned by selling players. They sold sort of 20. They gained in sales around 27 million euros, and they spent almost 70. And even though if you get the whole list of the players that uh, were sold or loaned or got that their contract broken, it has what 30 players. So they still keep doing what they do best. They try to find those golden nuggets, and they sell properly, and they keep those players that they think that they can work uh, more properly and merge with the idea that Atalanta has, basically Italian RB Leipzig. That's what Atalanta
Yeah,
is.
and that's what I was gonna say. They have an excellent scouting network. They buy cheap, and some of these players, if they have to sell, they sell them for a ridiculous price too. And as we know in Italy, they are very fond of the loan with option or obligation to buy, depending obligation a lot of times if certain circumstances are met. But a lot of teams do that because I know with Italy, the league isn't always financially stable. So a lot of these teams, what they do, if for those of you who don't know, the reason they do a lot of these loan with options to buy is because when they do have to purchase the player, it doesn't go on this year's books, it goes on next year's books, so they can always kind of put it towards future years so that it doesn't make the years a total loss as well. So it does help with that standpoint, but at least Atalanta do make their money back, and they do scout properly and really help strengthen their squad in these windows. So let's see how well they do. They can definitely be considered a good team with the squad they have, and definitely challenge to any opposition.
I know that this is not the subject of this video right now, but if I had to wager, I would wager for either Roma or Atalanta to be champions this season.
Really? That's
Yes.
interesting.
Let's see.
And, and it's funny because I did my predictions in the beginning, and this is also still when Juve had Ronaldo, but stupid me thinking, they signed they brought in Locatelli, which we'll get into, and Allegri as well, thinking they're going to go and win the Scudetto. But now I'm looking at them, I'm like, no, I probably went in a little too rash there. All
Soon to
right, so
tell.
yeah, so that's the thing. We're part of the winners, losers, and not quite sure yet. So, but maybe they're losers. We'll get to that. But moving on to the next team, which is Bologna. A lot of smaller reputation and more of youth players brought in. Some big names that they kind of big names, what they call. They brought in Marko Arnautovic, who did spend some time in Serie A few years ago and had is an international for, oh my god, Austria.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Austria. He is definitely a good player, but can be a bit of a hothead sometimes. But he already did mark his debut with a goal. Francesco Bardi as a backup keeper. Suamaro from Lille, they re-signed him after he spent the year on loan, and Bonifazzi from Spal. I feel like he played there last year, but a loss for them. Some losses for them. Tomiyasu to Arsenal. That is a tough loss, even after Tomiyasu was actually linked to some clubs in Italy. The excellent defender, still very young. They lost veteran Danilo, new in Paz. Then Swell left. Palacio, veteran there, and left. Cuanco. Andrea Poli was let go. And De Costa, their other veteran keeper, were let go. So more or less, it's still kind of the same squad that Mihailovic has had. Not strengthened too much in some sense as well. So we'll see. Again, they're Bologna always try to go for that mid-table finish. Let's just see how consistent they can be this season, and what else we can expect. Maybe we'll be brought in for a surprise this season. Who really knows?
Um,
Any quick thoughts on Bologna?
yeah, based on what I've seen here so far, what they did was basically just to try to replace their defenders that they've lost, right? They got 3 new defenders, and they bought Barrow from Atalanta. So maybe they have this idea of, okay, let's work our defense system first and think about attacking later. Maybe working on the fast transition counter attack and use Barrow to be the score, at least like the second attacking player to serve an Arnautovic. Arnautovic is like he's just a finisher, right? He's a very
Mm-hmm.
stiff player. He's not very malleable per se. He's not skillful or technical. He knows how to score goals. That's it.
Yeah. Just sorry, one quick tidbit too with Bologna is that they managed to keep hold of Orsolini, who was linked away with the club as well. So that is also a big gain for them, keeping one of their best players at the club. So hopefully he can thrive. Barrow staying at the club long term, and then Arnautovic as well. So that definitely will help Mihailovic this season. Next, we have Cagliari. Now, Cagliari were close to being relegated last year after being saved from Semplici last season. So some of their quick rivals, Keita Balde, who returns to Italy this time around with the Sardinians. Raul Bellanova, for those of you who don't know, is a former Milan youth product who was sold or let go to Bordeaux. Free agent Martin Caceres, experience in Serie A. Grassi Dalbert, who is an Inter reject. Radonovic from Atalanta. And Kevin Strootman, who did not sign with Genoa on a loan from Marseille. Some of the other players that they let go were Bradorich, Simeone on loan to Verona, Cherry on loan to Como, Tripaldelli to Spal, Vicario and on loan, Clavin was let go, Samuel let go, and Despodov was sold. So They did bring in some talent, but it's tough to say how well they do because again, Cáceres is much older now. Not the same defender that we've seen from him in the past. Keita can definitely be surprising. He could probably work well with João Pedro. Villanova hasn't had that much first team experience from what I remember. And Dalbert, it kind of depends, but Strootman would be a good leader in that midfield with, no, Nainggolan's still at Inter, I think. Yes. But anyway, still in that midfield. But it depends. We'll see how well Cagliari gel in these last couple in going forward. Because like we've seen, they have, they managed to tie their first game after being down from 2 goals, but then they go and get it killed by Milan last weekend before the international break. So it's tough to say early on how they'll do, but they did bring in some a lot more players after their weekend match against Milan.
Well, when it comes to Cagliari, sorry, I think it's gonna be the same as last season. We're not gonna see anything much different from them. However, they brought a player that I really like. I don't know if I expect too much of him, but I really like Strootman, and I think he might actually help somehow. And let's see what happens. Cagliari, I don't expect much, but at the same time, I don't think that they can do something more than just be making sure that they're not on the relegation squad per se. That's all.
And I know they were heavily linked with bringing Raja Nainggolan back because he does love. Because honestly, I think that's the one benefit of playing in Cagliari. Yes, you're always being threatened with relegation, but you're playing on such a beautiful island and it's beautiful. If you see it's like Sardinia, it's beautiful. I think that's only the benefit of playing there.
The question is, can Nainggolan still deliver something? I don't know.
Well, his wife is Sardinian too, so that's another reason why
I see.
he would want to go back, right?
Okay.
But he did love playing there. That's because that's where he also started his career before moving to Roma. So he still brings it for that team. So maybe him and Strootman would have done well in the midfield. But I think maybe Strootman was brought in because they couldn't bring Nainggolan. But we did see Strootman last year did help Genoa escape relegation. Let's see if he can help him do the same. Maybe again, this is what Keita Balde needs to kind of reinvigorate his career after leaving Lazio and linking with João Pedro, he's been very great for Cagliari at the same time, but he can't do everything himself because Simeone was very inconsistent as well. They did keep Cranio, who is an excellent shot stopper as well. So, but again, like you said, we can't expect much from Cagliari. They just have to try and avoid relegation and not being brought down to the very last day, like we've seen sometimes in the past.
Yeah, I know it's extremely again early to tell, but I think at least 2 of the 3 teams that came from the second division will go back to it because they're not good at all.
It's funny, just to recap on my predictions. I know we're still only in the beginning of our list, but my predictions to be relegated were Salernitana, Spezia, because I don't feel they just have it right. And it's funny because I was saying Genoa, but then I ended up switching it to Torino because I felt they haven't really gotten to where they need to be, but it's still early to tell. So, but the third one was a tough choice. But we'll get into all the teams shortly and kind of get into why maybe. All right. So the next team is Empoli, who again were newly promoted from Serie B. Were Serie B champions, so they do have quite a list of players they brought in. Samir Ujgani, previously with Torino. Federico Di Francesco, Eusebio Di Francesco's son, for those of you who do not know. Tonelli brought in on a permanent deal. Pinamonti from Inter on a loan. Patrick Cutrone on a loan. Luperto on a loan. Liam Henderson from Lecce. Marchizza from Sassuolo. Zurkowski and Vicario from Cagliari are just some of the big points here. And then not many. They do have a few departures, but I'm not sure if you can really put them all significant departures, I guess we could say.
Yeah,
but
they just sold Traore and Lagumina, and that's it. And the most at least financially speaking, they did well because they made 17 million euros and they just spent 9. So at least they're on green, because the most expensive player that they bought was Nicolas Haas, 3 million euros. And that's it.
Yeah, and considering, especially when you come up from Serie B, you don't get that much money
yes,
at all,
exactly.
right? compared to, I know it's we're speaking about England, but the TV deal with England's absolutely ludicrous. A team getting promoted gets even more than just as much as a team that wins the
But
Champions League.
but even though sometimes they struggle, you see teams like Fulham going back and forth, Norwich going back and forth because they cannot structure themselves properly. So
And
imagine on other leagues that are not that doesn't have that beautiful financial framework on the background underlying everything. It's
and
even
thing
more
is,
difficult.
they're not spending smart. Then that's the thing. A lot of those teams in England tend to spend overpay for certain players as well, rather than
Oh,
spend through
ex-
like 50 million, we'll say on 3-4 players kind of thing, rather than 50 million on like one player.
they forget
But
they can pay in euros instead of paying in pounds, right?
that's for sure. So we'll see. I feel Empoli just have enough to stay up, and they do have that kind of experience because they've been in Serie A little more recently. I think it's only been a 3 years, 3-4 years since they were last in Serie A. So I feel they can stay up, but they just have to be a little consistent and get points where they need to. But I feel it was a decent transfer window for them, and like we see, they did upset Juventus. So that was an amazing result for them. Not what Juve wanted, but I even said in my last video, so I don't know, Jonathan. And so that was Empoli's first victory against Juventus since 1999,
Whoa,
and their first away victory against Juventus.
21 years, almost 22. That's crazy. I didn't have a clue. Yeah,
So
I prepared myself very well for this video, guys, if you haven't realized yet.
I'm just throwing in random thoughts, throw him off his game. All right, so now we'll go on to La Viola, Fiorentina.
Yuri.
So they actually, I feel, they made some decent signings here.
You actually feel that they would never be a big team again. That's what you feel. That's what everybody feels.
Honestly, considering the way they've just been upsetting and they've just been poor, and that's one reason why Chiesa kind of wanted to get out of there, and because Fiorentina was actually holding Chiesa back.
Yes.
And it's funny because I thought he wasn't ready for that big move, but you could tell because maybe it was just also the quality around Chiesa
The
that
same with
just
the
didn't
pole.
help.
The same with the pole. When we sorry to cut you off, but like it's the same with the pole. You have like these above average players that they basically carry the team on their back, and they have to say bye. They need to do something more with their lives and their careers.
And the thing is, Chiesa was, I think, 22 when he left Fiorentina. The Pole was 27 when he finally got out of Udinese. And okay, I feel bad for Udinese, but they do have an excellent scouting network. They do know how to really scout properly. Well, they kind of used to, but I feel they can kind of retract with the DePaul departure. But I feel recently with Fiorentina has been so inconsistent up and down that at one point they were looking at being relegated. So they do have probably some quality that they can probably do. So speaking of that, they brought in Odriozola from Real Madrid on a loan. Lucas Torreira from Arsenal is back in Italy. Former Viola player Nastasic is back on a permanent deal, and they brought Nico Gonzalez from Stuttgart on a permanent basis. Some quick departures here. Boya Valero retired. Frank Ribéry was let go. It's unfortunate because he did help Fiorentina a bit, but his age probably was getting
Yeah.
to him as well. Eseric was let go. Zecchini was let go. Padzea, like I said before, was let go as well. Kwame sent out on a loan, and Lirola sold to Marseille. Cáceres, like I said, was let go as well. So again, they did let go of some of their players that they weren't really feeling, we could say, but they did manage to keep a hold of. Sorry, not keep a hold, but they did get some good quality to replace them. But let's see how well they can gel. Again, they managed to even keep a hold of Dusan Vlahovic, who could be who will be their focal point to the attack, because that was important for them. Because if they did sell him, I don't know how they would have really replaced him, to be honest, or they would have been smart with the replacement. But especially bringing in Gonzalez to work with him and a good couple players in the midfield. Let's see what they can bring. Maybe finish at least mid table this time, rather than fighting for relegation. So we'll have to see how they do.
The thing is that I feel like that happens a lot with Italian teams. Sometimes they have one or two players that are way above the average. They are sold, they're negotiated with other teams from other countries, but they don't have anyone to replace them at the same level, from the same level. So they
Mhm.
always get,
A below average player kind of
yes, a
thing.
below average player that makes them feel almost crippled, right? And it's difficult to replace. So they always suffer with that. And they have to sell because the player above average, they don't have that much money. They have to pay the bills and have cash on their pockets to make the team, the institution work, right? So, and they also got this Brazilian defender Igor that have never heard about in my entire life. 5 million euros.
And it's funny, speaking of with buying players, is that sometimes when other teams know that certain teams are desperate for a player, they're gonna try to get them to bid higher and higher, keep rejecting the deal to try to get as much as they can. And then after a while, the one team could be like, oh no, I don't want to pay I don't want to spend an extra 20 mil on someone when they're worth 5-10 mil, because that spending too much on one player. And with sometimes, because financial fair play works with only some teams, as we know, it kind of restricts you of what you can do sometimes.
Yes, 100%.
Moving down our list, we are going to Genoa. So Genoa are another team that, like I said, they're just. It's funny because Preziosi, the president, was also looking at selling the club, did not find a buyer as well. So they're one of those clubs that are just.
One of those
Don't put it could be a shit show sometimes.
one of those clubs that you sometimes you look, you know, those leagues that you look like that you look at, like that happens for me. It happens a lot in Italy, Spain, and Italy and Spain and France. Okay, Germany and England is more difficult, but these three, you have these like 4 to 5 teams. Forget about the ones that are coming from the lower divisions, okay? But they you feel like they only exist to make their fan base mad and to fight against relegation. There's no other reason for them to to exist than making people stressed out.
You
Genoa's
you want
one
to
of
know?
those.
Do you want to know something funny about Genoa? Because you probably don't know this, but if they win one more Scudetto, they get a star on their jersey.
No, I know that they're huge back in the day, but that was
I
what,
know, I know,
1700s. You know, like no, I know that.
I know. But it's honestly, it's been a while because they've again been one of those teams that have been escaping the relegation battle, either between finishing mid-table where they've had some good seasons because they've had good players. When they had strikers like Borriello, Diego Milito, they managed to really pressure these big teams. But now, recent years, it's definitely been a while since they've been up. I want to say more. It's definitely been more than 10 years. I want to say that they've been up in the top flight, but they have lately been struggling. Just even going by, they brought in Fares from Lazio, Caicedo from Lazio as well. Fares on loan, Caicedo is a permanent transfer. Maximovic on a free transfer, Semper from Chievo, because Chievo actually bankrupted. I don't know if you heard about
Yeah, I
that.
know. I do know. Yes.
They faltered. Hernani from Parma, which is actually a good player to have. He did excellent with Parma despite their poor season last year. Veteran Italy and Euro winner Salvatore Sirigu, as they couldn't re-sign Perin on another loan. Honestly, Perin leaving Genoa was like, as much as he needed to leave Genoa, going to Juve was probably the mistake that he made.
You think
Perin,
he's gonna
but
get overshadowed there, right?
he was the backup there. He needed a team where he could start. I know he was linked with Milan before Donnarumma broke out, but honestly, Perin needed to move to a big team where he would be the number one rather than go to a big team where he's going to be the backup. Van Hoosden from Inter, and that's as far as I can see. Some players that they let go were Aguadello, Favili to Monza, Shizbora. They always let go of a lot of players. Oh, Shamarudov, who had actually great season with them last year, was sold to Roma. They let go of Christian Zapata, which I feel is kind of poor because he's always been despite him, Christian Zapata has been solid, especially for a team like Genoa who probably need that extra defensive work. Jarozinski went to Salernitana, and that's all I can see that are really significant, unless you see
Well,
anything.
at
I do
least they
notice.
go.
Sorry, they're also linked with free agents Nukulu, who was let go by Torino, and Yuto Nagatomo from Marseille.
Oh, well, Nagatomo. Well, I think he can still deliver something. Let's see.
Maybe.
Well, at least they made 3.7 million euros of profit on this window transfer.
That's
Yay!
it. There's something positive. And this is why honestly, after seeing them the first two games, and I'm like, okay, why didn't I keep them as my third relegated team instead of Torino? But it was such a hard toss up between those two, just because the way Torino's been the last couple years. But honestly, I'm like, maybe Genoa was gonna be the one being relegated.
And I actually thought, I don't remember when it was. It was like what, maybe like 6 or 7 seasons ago, when Torino was fighting to get like a European spots
But
to play, and like I thought to myself that okay, finally this team is gonna go back, to its former glory. It's gonna go back to
il
maybe,
Grande Torino.
to be Torino. No, mm-mm. Woke up
That's
from
what
the dream.
poor management, and then not being able to, because that's also when they had Verdi and Immobile playing their top
Yes,
football at the
uh-huh.
club, right? And then they just can't replace them, and it's hard because yeah, Belotti's their star player, but does he have support around him?
Mm-mm.
Mm, no, no.
Maybe his mom. I don't know.
But anyways, Genoa not with the best market, but we could see going for, because a couple of these deals happened after their last two games, or their first two games, sorry, but we'll see what they do. Going on to Verona now. They brought in a few new faces. They brought in Caprari, Simeone, Ilic. They re-signed permanently from City, Frabotta on loan from Juve, Montipo on loan from Benevento after Silvestri was sold to Udinese, and some of their departures, Zaccagni on loan with an option to buy to Lazio, who unfortunately, like Zaccagni definitely deserved that big move as well. Di Carmine was sold, Stepinski out on loan, Lovato, as we know, was sold to Atalanta, Laribi sold to Regina, Silvestri, like I said, to Udinese, and Bocchetti retired. So not a bad market, I want to say, from Verona, but we'll see with the coach that they have, Di Francesco, because Di Francesco, like I said in my previous video, needs a career of revitalization because he's been poor last few years with his clubs. So let's see what they can work with. I do know, I think they have, I think they still have Lasagna. They still have Kalinic. I don't know why they have Kalinic, but at
It's
least
not
they,
that
I,
bad. He's half bad.
could be worse. Like
Solid
that.
6.
Remember that video I sent you with him just making complete mistakes with the stupid noises in it?
Yes.
That sums him up pretty much. That's Kalinic. But at least the one thing is Montipo, okay, can't blame him completely for the season Benevento had. Benevento just had a poor second half of the season, winning one game out of their 19 games in the second half of the season, which only came against Juventus, and they ended up being relegated. But can't completely blame him. But I feel he is a good replacement for Silvestri, gets more top flight experience. But they did bring in some decent, like I said, they managed to keep a hold of Ilic, who is still a great player for them. And they managed to add extra attacking options with Simeone and Caprari. So let's see how that helps them kind of be consistent, maybe potentially compete for a seventh spot finish like last year. So we'll see how they do.
Well, I think this might actually be one of those teams on which you look at it and you think like, how are they there? But if you actually just go forget about the Hellas Verona that no one knows, and you look at what they do and what they try to implement, it's gonna make sense. The same way that like 3 seasons ago, you would laugh if someone would tell you that Sassuolo would be playing well. They are, right? Because there is a strategy behind it. There is a plan behind it, right?
And
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like the other teams that we were previously mentioning, and they are always struggling season after season.
and Juric has managed to really change the way Verona has been played, and he's made them play excellent football as well. Really gave them a plain identity. But now that's the thing. Now that he's left, what can Di Francesco do? Is he going to falter, or is he going to his own career and Verona back on track, kind of thing? So that's the one thing we have to see with this all done, and especially more into the season when more games are played. Any other thoughts before we move on?
From Verona? No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop pretending that I know something about them.
All right. So we're going to move on to the first big team now, and that is Inter. Let's start with their departures. So as we know,
Oof. Big
Let's
oof.
start from what I see here. Eddie Salcedo on loan to Spezia. Agume out on loan. They managed to get rid of Lazzato again, but only on a loan. Pinomonti, like I said here. Oh, Nainggolan, yes, he did leave. That's now I do remember. He did leave to Antwerp on a free agent. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the deal he wanted with Caladei, so he goes somewhere else. Romelu Lukaku goes to Chelsea. They managed to loan out Stankovic's son. Dalbert, like I said, Pirola to Monza, Van Housden, Esposito to Basel on the loan, and he's actually thriving at Basel from what I've seen. He's been excellent, really producing goals. Joao Mario finally leaves the club as a free agent. Hakimi to PSG, Rivas, Ashley Young back to England, and Padelli went back to, or no, sorry, I don't think he was at
No.
Udinese, but he goes to Udinese. And some of their arrivals include Joaquin Correa, who arrived actually before this, after the first game was played and played for the second game. Denzel Dumfries, Edin Dzeko, Cordes, and Çalhanoğlu. I feel like you've even said before, you said they were one of the losers, and I kind of agree with that. It's like, yes, they kind of replaced their missing players, but they didn't really replace them because
You just have to compare the players. Like for instance, okay, you lose Lukaku and you bring Tseko. Tseko is good, yes, but he's not half a player of what Lukaku is, right?
and how old is Dzeko? He's 36. What else can he kind of bring to? He can
Yes.
bring the quality, but is he
Yeah,
still the same player that he
he's
was?
he's a better version of an Artovich. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I do, and bringing in Correa, I think was also good, a good option as well. It does give him that extra attacking threat,
Yes,
so that did help.
that I agree.
And especially playing under Simone and Zaghi before, they kind of already know each other and how to really get the best out of each other. So that does help as well.
And then you lose a player like Ericsson because he cannot play for Calcio on Serie A anymore, and you bring Chanalago. Okay, he's good, but half the time, half the time, he's just like a I don't know, like a
A
gray B
pylon.
version of Ozil. He just turns off and he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he's doing. And
I
oh,
don't.
okay,
Sorry,
I'm playing now. Oh, okay. Then I score a beautiful goal or I find a beautiful pass, and then after that, four other after on over the next four matches, he doesn't do anything. So
I feel that's kind of disrespectful to Ozil. Oh my god! And it's like I have some Inter friends who are like happy about like Çalhanoğlu scoring and assisting in his first game. I'm like, yeah, I had 4 years of watching him, so I'm not sure you can be happy after one game. And so he'll have 2 games where he can be consistent in the 2 or 3 games. Like he can actually have a good spell, but then after that, it's like, where are you for the rest of the time?
exactly.
And there's so many times where Milan needed Çalhanoğlu, and his best patch was when Serie A resumed after the COVID lock.
True.
That was his
Yes.
that
Yes.
was
It
his best
was.
spell.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
After that, or the whole time, it's like
So imagine if he was at least like 50% of that throughout the whole season. That
the
would
one
be way better.
the one thing I do feel that the difference could be with Inter and Milan is that he could have a lot more quality than he had a lot of times at Milan, because Inter do kind of have the now that winning mentality. They do have a lot of great players around him. Not saying Milan had bad players, but some of the times they had it just
Yes.
weren't. They were kind of average, whatever. They're kind of still rebuilding, right? So now Inter kind of have a lot more talented players around him, so that maybe could bring more out of Çalhanoğlu, but we'll have to see, because even at Turkey at the Euros, he was absolutely piss poor and trying to get a better deal from other clubs or Milan, but it just didn't work. So we'll see how that works, and especially in a new system under Inzaghi, let's see if he can get the best out of where he plays on the field. So
Let's see. We can only hope for the best.
and we can only say what we feel, and that's it.
I feel
All right.
disappointed. I feel sad for Inter. That's how I feel.
It's tough, and it's
And
like
I feel happy for me because Lukaku is back home, baby.
the one thing too is, like you say, Serie A is weaker, and that's the one thing. It's like, I hate to see Serie A always lose their top players. They have 1-2 good seasons, then they're off to somewhere else because a team can afford them, or they're playing good in the top flight all the time, kind of thing. And that's the thing. It's like players come and go. I know the league will always be here, but I feel people won't take the league as serious if we can't keep a hold of these top players half the time, you know?
Yeah, because I think the problem is, again, that happens more with Spain and Italy. They don't have that much of a good team management or institution management, financially speaking and organizationally speaking, compared with Germany and England, for instance. So sometimes they do have to make money because they have to pay the bills. They have to make sure that the institution is still working. Kiev just got obliterated, right? Because
Yeah.
there was no good administration. So unfortunately, if they don't understand that, sometimes I can use my example from Brazil with Flamengo. Flamengo, right? Like over the last, I don't know, 20 years, we became a joke financially speaking, like a big team that doesn't win anything and is always struggling to pay their bills. And on 2012 a new president was elected and he restructured the whole team. We took 4 years of taking beat after beat and being mocked from every other team and every other fan from other teams. But now what we are coming to fruition, look what's
Hmm.
happening right now we're the biggest team in South America. Why? Because we organize ourselves financially first. So
And that's the one thing with Inter is that they needed to sell because I think Suning's company was
yes,
becoming a shit show. So he needs to sell as well. And it's unfortunate. Yes, you're able to get at least 200 million euros for two of your best players, but you're losing two quality players that helped you win a Scudetto after almost 10 years, right? And then you lose your coach as well, Antonio Conte, because he couldn't agree, him and the president
what's
couldn't
going on? Yeah.
agree with anything, but they still brought in a good replacement with Inzaghi, who does make a good step from Lazio to Inter, and they still implement a very similar system, three at the back, counterattack football, and they did manage to hold Lautaro Martinez as well, so that did help them as well. But I know there's rumors of other players leaving, but at least they only managed to, unfortunately, get rid of Lukaku and Hakimi and not more, right?
Yes. Like, again, unfortunately, like when it comes to the beauty of the game itself, it's unfortunate for them to lose the team, those players. But at the same time, you have to make sure that you are financially oxygenated, right? So otherwise, the team won't
One
exist.
Exactly, exactly. And we've seen that a lot in Italy in recent years. So it's unfortunate. It's happening, especially to a big team as well, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
but on the other hand, they're back on Champions League, right? So just by being there on the group stage, they're already making 38 million euros plus
yes,
160 million euros that they made by selling the players. That's 200 million euros of
revenue.
plus of
Yeah.
revenue that they didn't have before. So, and they still have a competitive team. They can still, let's say, even if they don't qualify to the knockout groups, they can still go to Europa League and win there. They will still fight for the Scudetto. So it's not like the team is over. They still have good players, but it's not as competitive as before.
They're honestly they're a little weakened, but not completely weakened to the
No.
point of not being competitive. So that's enough of them. Let's get on to the next ones, the old lady, the Bianconeri Juventus. So, like I said, I had them winning Serie A, but I'm not sure after watching them these first two games bringing in their rivals Ihattaren, if I'm saying that right, but he was later loaned out to Sampdoria. Keane was brought in as a Ronaldo replacement. Locatelli finally made his move on a two-year, I think it's a 2 year loan with obligation to buy. 1 or 2 year loan.
Who?
All I know.
Sorry?
Locatelli.
Oh,
It's a 1 or 2 year loan with an obligation to buy. And then bringing Kyle George after he didn't go to Milan, even though he was heavily linked with them. And going on their departures, Draguzin sold to Sampdoria, Fagioli loaned out, like I said, Hihaturin. Ronaldo making that move to United after originally being linked with City, but I think his agent just got his move to United after dragging out City. Uh, Romero was sold to Atalanta, who was later sold to Tottenham. Demiral to Atalanta, Frabotta to Verona, Piazza to Torino, and then Buffon went back to his boyhood Parma team on a free transfer. Now, you would think, again, with Locatelli coming in, Allegri coming in, who knew how to bring the winning mentality. You would think that would be better, but I know there's a lot of friction to begin with Ronaldo and Allegri. And I think you could see, and it's funny because I always thought Ronaldo was holding back Juve, but it was the other, because you would think, to me, there's times where Juve didn't play well with Ronaldo, but you can tell now without him, they kind of really needed Ronaldo. So
Yes.
it's hard to imagine that, to be honest. Like I think we kind of saw Ronaldo leaving coming, but it's tough in a financial aspect because you paid so much to get him, and now you're selling him for much less. But it's also with 1 year left on his contract for a 36-year-old. But it's also the amount of money when it comes to jerseys, right, all this other stuff, because you have Ronaldo on your team, right, and the amount of fans you would have. But now all the Ronaldo fans kind of just went back to United. But
I
we
think.
all can agree it's like it's all it's all the Barcelona fans going to PSG as well, right? So
Have you watched the match the last Sunday?
which one?
PSG and
No, I
them?
didn't. I
Yeah.
think that was the same time as the Milan game, so I kind of
Oh,
missed
I
them.
see. People have this like this idiotic idea of thinking that, oh, okay, Ronaldo came, we didn't win Champions League, he's a failure. No, get his freaking numbers. The guy is a still machine. And it's
He
not even
is.
it's not even just about scoring goals. It's about being decisive. It's about passing. How much he does when it comes to opening the defense to other players to float around. When he's especially when he the way he likes to play more on the left side. So when he starts sprinting, 1, 2 players are gonna go after him. So it's not that simple. It's very simplistic to say and obnoxious to be honest to say that, oh my gosh, Cristiano Ronaldo was a failure. And no, he wasn't. Far from that. And he's still delivering. He just scored 2 goals 2 days ago. And now he's the biggest top scorer of national teams in the world. I just think that Juventus didn't. I, even though I am a huge fan of Pirlo, I already told you this that maybe for me he's the I don't know maybe top 3 players of Italy of all time. It wasn't his time yet. There was a lot of pressure uh, because people knew that Ronaldo wasn't that happy anymore. So maybe Allegri coming back 1 season before would be the best option. But now it's too late to tell. We can only like theorize and hope for the best. We know that Allegri is a very good coach, and we expect because Juventus still have very good players. It's not like you don't have Dybala. It's not like you don't have Quadrado. It's not like you have Morata, Chiesa. You have some options. You have oh my gosh, what's his name?
Kulusevski.
Yes, that's the guy. I was trying to remember his name.
That's the thing, but so the one thing with Juve is, like you said, they reinforce their midfield with Locatelli, but it's still kind of not what they need. With Ramsey, it's hard to say when he's going to play because he's always consistent, right? Sorry, he's always injured, and it always,
Yeah,
you know, Rabiot, you've paid so much. What has he been doing? Bentancur, it hasn't been in form. Am I forgetting someone else? I feel like there's someone else in that midfield. Um,
Bernardeschi.
Bernardeschi's more of a utility. He's more of a
Yeah,
utility
you
player
have
anyway.
Arthur.
Yes, that's Arthur. They brought him in. He's kind of been, again, hit or miss. So it's the midfield that's been the weak point of Juve, and even with Locatelli now, after he made his came on as a sub in their first game against Udinese, and then I can't remember if he started against in the loss against Empoli. But even look at their defense now. Chiellini, Bonucci were very strong at the Euros, but I don't think they played. They didn't play together. I think against Empoli it was Bonucci and De Ligt. But they kind of weakened their defense because now they only have really 3 center backs, we could say,
Oh,
unless Danilo plays center back, which he can, but not the best. McKennie, that's the other midfield. That's the other midfield. But
oh
still,
yeah,
is
he
that,
just got in. Yeah, yeah, from
yeah.
Schalke. Yeah,
But again, is that Juventus quality? He had a good season, McKennie, but is he a Juventus quality midfielder?
maybe Juventus is stacking up too many midfield players, and I don't know. Well,
They're
let's
going
see.
they're going with quantity
and
over than
and
quality.
yeah, at least now they cannot blame Ronaldo because Morata is not being as precise or as effective. To be honest, I really think that right now Juventus, if you look at the roster, if you look at the roster, you you can see players that could be world class players, like Dybala, like Cuadrado here and there. Of course, forget about the defense, okay? Because though they are world class players. Forget about Bonucci, Chiellini, okay? They don't count when I'm talking about like more of like a attacking sector of the team. Now I feel like they have like a pretty decent squad. And from that, I think the Allegri has to try to take the best out of it, because the team doesn't have they don't have a point of reference anymore. You know, they don't have like they had Ronaldo, like Inter had Lukaku and Martinez at the same time. You know, like Milan, even though he's injured most of the time, Ibrahimovic, you know, they don't have a player like that anymore. So now it's about everybody being on the same level and trying to make sure that they can deliver. They can. They have quality. Let's see. For me, it's the beginning. It's almost a fresh start.
We'll also see the way Allegri plays his team, because last game he played Danilo in that regista position and McKennie on the wing. So that was already a mistake there, because they're not. Why? With Moise Kean, he has now that experience playing first team football with PSG, with Everton. Didn't get that much opportunity. He got some opportunities at Juve when he was younger, but he's still pretty young himself right now. But he did get more playing time, like I said, in England and in France. So maybe he can hopefully bring that experience and work well with Morata and Dybala. Dybala, hopefully he can stay fit for the season. And because if he can stay fit, he can definitely cause some trouble. Chiesa had excellent Euros, and he's continuously progressing as a player himself. And he looks to be probably Juve's new focal point if they can focus with Chiesa and maybe build a team around Chiesa and Locatelli, that youth, and perhaps strengthen to reclaim their Serie A throne.
So imagine it. Imagine if these players can perform the way that we know they can. So imagine Morata, Chiesa, and Dybala on the left and Morata on the right, and then they have like Locatelli and maybe Rabiot or Arthur completing these 5 players. On the paper, it's beautiful. They just have to play.
Even Kulizeski, you know, like
I forgot about this crazy ass name player.
But no, what's funny is because Kulizeski was brought in before Chiesa, right? You know, okay, we have our right midfield. They didn't need Juve didn't need Chiesa originally because they had bought Kulizeski, but Chiesa wanted to leave, so we're like, you know, Juve is like, I'll pay whatever, take him off your hands, and it ended up working out well. That it turned out more of a better deal for Juve because Chiesa wasn't held back anymore. He was able to really play and showcase his talent and play. So Chiesa was definitely the better option. He was more the second choice, but it turned out to be the better option rather than Kulusevski at that time. So it was definitely you should honestly have Chiesa on one way, Kulusevski on the other. Can you imagine that if you're playing?
Yeah, you can do that too. But where are you gonna put Dybala? False 9?
Either as behind Keane and Morata, who knows?
Yeah, but who's gonna? That's the thing. Like, so if you do that, you're gonna have to need like Rabiot as like a stop man, or Ramsey or Arthur, or Locatelli. So, but these players, everybody has to come back and help defending. Morata would be the only one that he's gonna be the one like annoying the defenders right there. But all of the other ones, they would have to come back because they're very good. But if they don't come back, the defense is going to be extremely exposed. And Chiellini and Bonucci, they cannot hold that by themselves.
Like I said, let's see what Allegri does and what type of system he's going to implement to this game.
But they do have options. They do have alternatives to create different kinds of formations here.
Yeah, it just
do have the talent.
It's only if you put them in the right spots. That's it.
Hopefully, for the sake of soccer.
Going on to the next team is Lazio. So we'll start with their departures first. Lulic let go on a free. Minala, that guy who everyone thought was much older than he was. Parolo. If you don't know who Minala is, he was an 18-year-old that people thought he was at least 30. He looked that old.
What the heck?
Yeah. Parolo let go. I think he retired. Musacchio let go. Armini went down on loan. Young prospect from Italy. Joaquin Correa, like I said, sold to Inter. Felipe Caicedo to Genoa. Casasola to Frosinone on loan. Fares to Genoa. And then they go in to bring in Hisage on a free from Napoli. Felipe Anderson back on a permanent basis. Pedro from Roma. Basic from Bordeaux. And Zaccagni, who is probably a great purchase from Verona on a loan with option to buy. It's funny because for the longest time, Lazio weren't able to register Felipe Anderson, Hisage, Basic, and someone else. I think it was Pedro or another sign or someone. They couldn't register their contracts because they need to get an income. They didn't have that income yet before they can do it. It was some financial thing that they need to show like some
Some
type of
proof that they
revenue.
can actually spend that money.
Yes, there's
They have
something
the
that I saw.
funds.
So they finally deposited the contracts not too long ago. I feel it's not terrible business from Lazio here. They did lose their coach and Inzaghi, but they did bring in Maurizio Sarri, who could be a good replacement for the Biancocelesti. They definitely, with the players they have, it could work well. You know, they still managed to keep Immobile and Milinkovic Savic as well. I do feel Zaccagni is going to be a great improvement in that midfield as well. And honestly, like I said, it's a steal for, I think it was a loan with the option of 6 to 10 million, something like that. That's a huge steal for someone who's only 25, 26 in today's market. Felipe Anderson, who already scored on his debut once again for Lazio, who performed well, didn't have the best times in England. And we'll see how Pedro does after leaving their city rivals Roma. So I wouldn't say it's a terrible transfer market from Lazio, but
No, I agree.
it's not an amazing transfer market. So,
But I do think they're gonna fight for Champions League and Europa League at least.
yes,
I
no,
do
they
think.
are one of those who I think I predicted them. I can't remember if I predicted them 6 or 7. I feel they're going to
Wow,
finish,
that low, eh?
but that was before a lot of these other signings came in, right? Because I did mine a couple weeks before, like right before the season started, right? So
Uh,
it's tough to say. I think it was even Napoli I had around that too. I felt Roma was going to finish higher than Lazio and Napoli just because of their coach and who they brought in as well, which we'll get into as well. Any other thoughts on Lazio in your opinion?
to be honest, I think they can surprise people. I'm gonna say something very crazy here. I think they might finish third or fourth. I'm going for the underdogs this year.
Yeah, and it does. Like I said, with Sadi as a coach, who knows? They could really play some interesting football, and we've already seen that after they obliterated Spezia 6-1. Um,
Mhm.
so we can see. I know that was only Spezia, but still, like that's the kind of one what you want to see, and especially if you can get more out of Ciro Immobile after some not disappointing Euros, but when you can't score as much with the national team, you want to at least get the most for them
He
at
forgets
club
how to
level.
play when he plays for Italy. That's basically it.
It's unfortunate, even though we are European champions, it is tough to say that. You know, you can give him some blame,
And
but
come
not
on,
complete
you
blame.
guys are tying with Bulgaria home.
European hangover.
Oh,
I know. Let's move on to the next team. My boys over here. So some big departures. Let's start with a few. Where are we
let's
here?
start with the most hurtful one.
Which I feel is definitely Donnarumma.
Of course,
Definitely Donnarumma.
of
That one
course, for free.
was
For
gonna hurt.
free. You lost the future, like you lost the next best goalkeeper in the world for free. Yay, Milan.
And I can it's I can also defend Milan on their stance because they gave him I feel like a good offer. I think they were offering I think 8, not more than 10 million. Not more than 10 million a year. I think they're offering 8 or 9 mil, something like that. But I think he wanted 12 because then 12 would be too much alone for a goalkeeper, and then especially if they're also looking at it as a financial standpoint where it's going to hurt the books in the long term and cost the club a shit ton of money, right? So especially when you're trying to be compliant within these restrictions, it's tough. I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a statement saying or something Donnarumma said. I don't know if it's true or not, where he said he accomplished all that he could with Milan and he felt a new point in his career was needed. I feel that's kind of like you just made Champions League, which was one of the objectives for the club, and you leave them the first time they're back. So I feel that was kind of wrong, but I already knew if we didn't make Champions League, he wasn't going to resign. There were rumors that if we were going to make it, he would resign, but then we signed Manya and the next day we qualified. So
Maybe He had the feeling that he could have won the Scudetto last season, and then on the second part of the season, things didn't quite work properly, and he may have gotten demotivated. I don't. And
It's
he saw what PSG was trying to do, and now look at PSG's team, and he knows that okay, like he's benched for Nava, and he's laughing his ass off while the guys are playing. So
the one thing I do want to say is that the previous Milan management of Fasona and Mirabelli, and I can't remember the Chinese owner's name. I forget. That's how bad he was. I'm already forgetting his name. But they screwed up the initial renewal because they gave him a lot more at that time. Because they gave him 6 mil at that time when you're already 18, 19, some already. So if you're already getting 6 mil as an 18-year-old, I can't imagine how much more you want when you're 22, right?
yes,
So already giving him that much, that means you really got to overtop it. If they give him, say, 4 or 5 mil then maybe they can give him 6, 7 mil, 8 mil now. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
That completely butchered the deal. So that's definitely going to be the sale that hurts Milan now, like the one that really hurts. But, again, players come and go. The team will always be there. But again, it's hard losing a generational talent in that sense. So
Yes, I agree. But I think you guys got some good players. I think you guys are better than they were before.
yeah,
You
well,
lost on Aruma, but you brought some good players.
yeah. So we'll go back, list some of the other departures now. Like we said, Çalhanoğlu was on a free. Mandzukic let go, having not the best 6 months. Out, Luxel finally sold. Olzer was a part of the Tonali deal. Colombo loaned out again to Spal, already playing pretty decent. Caldara loaned out to Venezia. Jens Peter Hauger loaned with obligation to buy. I think that one kind of hurt a lot of Milan fans. Donnarumma's brother let go as well. Paul Baga getting some playing time. Torino. Adil was bought, but then loaned back to Bordeaux to get the experience coming back next year. And then going to the arrivals, definitely lots of arrivals. Tomori redeemed. Magnan bought after we qualified for Champions League. Giroud brought in. Tonali redeemed. Quickly, sorry, like I said, I was telling you before, with the Tonali deal, Brescia's president is very superstitious. So the original deal was a 10 million loan fee and then a 15 million option to buy or something. But the agreement was reached with 7 mil plus 3 million bonuses. But he's very superstitious. So the figure, so the 7 mil did not read 7 mil. It read 6 mil 999.
Yes, I see here.
Right?
Yes.
Because 17 is an unlucky number in Italy. So he didn't want the deal to be 17 million. It had to be 16,999.
Something, yeah.
And the deal couldn't be on a Tuesday. It had to be on the Wednesday because Tuesday is also a very unlucky day or something in Italy. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun,
So it was very
fun
yeah.
facts.
Other players they brought in Diaz for another 2-year loan. Paulo Torre, they bought in for a cheap deal to be back up to Teo. Florenzi on a loan. Pellegrini on a loan, brought back Bakayoko, and then Junior Messias with a loan to option to buy. So a lot of loans as well, but that's the thing. Milan bringing in the loans, and again, they're doing it for the books. The loans with options to buy. If they like them, they purchase them.
Yeah, but good loans.
They are,
right?
And they're low risk, low cost kind of deals as well. So
yes,
that's kind of what the new management wants. And considering they brought in all these players for an estimated 75 mil, which is incredible.
72.7.
Depends which way, if you're looking at euros or dollars, right?
No, euros.
Euros?
Yes.
Even better.
Euros. And the thing is, I think you guys are better than last season. Even though you've lost Çalhanoğlu and you lost Donnarumma, I don't count Çalhanoğlu and Donnarumma. It was already expected, and you guys got a replacement already.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you guys can try do something. So do some damage on because imagine this. Imagine if Milan goes to the knockout stage of Champions League. If they understand that they're Milan, and they're the third biggest, greatest team in the world, period when it comes to history. Only Madrid and Liverpool are bigger than you guys. Yeah,
Liverpool bigger than us.
yes,
Damn, that's a bold claim.
yeah. It's like a third. You guys in third. You in Munich, Bayern Munich.
I would say at least. Well, I was gonna say United is up there, but
No, no. Liverpool
no,
is
you
the
don't think?
greatest team in England. Liverpool is the greatest team in England. They have the most
Yeah.
amount of trophies and the most amount of European trophies. So
I was also gonna say because Man United even was able to even win the treble too. I think they won it twice, didn't they? Or just once?
I don't know.
feel they won it because I think, or no, I know PK won back-to-back Champions Leagues, but I don't think he won back-to-back
Yes,
trebles.
back to back to physics. Yes.
Because Eto'o won back-to-back trebles. That I know because he won with Barca and then with Inter. He won back-to-back trebles, but
No, but it wasn't back to back because
yeah,
wait.
yeah, it was back-to-back.
Oh yeah, 2009
2009 and
and
then
then
2010.
2010. Yes.
But PK, I don't know. I know he won back-to-back Champions Leagues, but I don't know if he won back-to-back trebles. I can't remember.
But anyways, top four. This is the top four teams of all time, period. And then it's Barca, the fifth one. I would go for Barca. Barca or Ajax. I would go Barca. Barca and then Ajax. But having that said, I think that if they understand that, okay, we're in the knockout phase of the tournament, we can do this, you know?
It does. Milan do have definitely a tough group to really
Yes.
go through. So, and
Champions League is going to be.
these are their next 3 games after international break: Lazio, Liverpool, Juve.
Yes. So be honest, draw, loss, and win.
Yeah, I'm
For
hoping.
me, that's what's going to happen.
Though also the one thing too Milan wanted to do, especially for this window, is because in January there is the African Cup of Nations, so we lose 2 of our best players, Benacer and Kessie.
Oh, that hurts.
So that's why bringing in, making sure we resign Tonali, bringing in Bakayoko, and that's why keeping Krunic, I think, was important. As much as Krunic isn't the best player, he's just one of those utility players that Pioli likes to have. And I know Milan's also one of the only, I think, except for actually Atalanta, they're one of the only top teams that kept their coach from the previous season as well. Pretty much every other top team, except for, like I said, Atalanta, have changed their coach. We'll see how that. It is definitely a good base for Pioli to build on, and we'll see how they do in Champions League and throughout the season. So that's one thing. I know they really wanted a right winger, but let's see how Junior Macias can prove to be. It could be one of those surprise packages of the year. Who knows?
Another player that I have never heard before in my life, and it has to be from Brazil, of course.
I know they're actually, because they're trying to get rid of Castillejo. He could actually be on his way out. I was reading this morning of to the Russian league. I think CSKA Moscow, because their transfer window closes in September, or this month, like the next couple of days. So he could be on his way out. We'll see what they do. But I think getting players like Tomori, Tonali were important, especially for Milan. Going on to the next team, which is Napoli, and I really don't think they had that great of a mercato. So for some of their acquisitions, Anguissa from Fulham and Juan Jesus. And if you want to consider some of their not loan players, Primavera players, but not really. But those are the 2 main acquisitions. Departures: Maximovic on a free to Genoa.
Milik.
That was, I think that was official, yes. Cicciretti, who never really played for them, Luperto to Empoli, and Hisage to Lazio were some of the big departures. But Napoli, if you want to be a team to compete, okay, yes, they did keep their core. They managed to, because I know there's even a lot of rumors with Insigne as well leaving the club because there's some frictions with, I think, De Laurentiis, but they kept him. They did keep a lot of their core. But is it enough for Napoli to be that competitive? It's tough to say. Actually, I was also reading this morning that they're actually looking at getting Antonio Mirante as a free agent because both Ospina and Meret got hurt in international break. And they do have Juventus after the international break, so they do need a decent shot stopper. But
well, for me, Napoli is gonna be, I don't know, like maybe a little bit better version of Sassuolo when it comes to. You expect a little bit more from Napoli, but they don't have that much of a good squad to deliver more when it comes to trying to let's try to get a UEFA Champions League spot, or let's try to actually fight for the Scudetto. No, they're gonna be probably like among the top 6 or 7. That's it.
And that's the thing. Sometimes it's good making sure you have the same core, but sometimes when you need that one or two upgrades, that you kind of need that to be a little more competitive, especially the way that Juve and Inter were kind of weakened and how much Milan strengthened. Atalanta got some good additions as well. Roma, you kind of want to keep up with everyone else. Yes, it's good keeping your core, but you made that one or two key acquisitions could have definitely helped Napoli. Next, and like, oh yeah, sorry, like we said, even Napoli changed their coach, bringing in Luciano Spalletti. Hopefully he can get things going with Napoli and maybe bring some good things with them. Roma have a lot of, not many acquisitions. I feel they've definitely made some good acquisitions. A lot of departures. Olsen to Sheffield on loan. Pastore, like I think his contract was terminated with mutual consent. Pedro let go. Florenzi to Milan. Jesus to Napoli. Dzeko to Inter. Kluivert back to Nice. Paul Lopez to Marseille. Under to Marseille. Mirante let go, and Bruno Perez to Trabzonspor on a free agent, where they did manage to bring in Tammy Abraham, Vinya, Shomarudov, and actually excellent shot stopper in Rui Patricio. And that's one thing Roma have always been lacking for the longest time, a solid goalie. And they did that with Portugal's #1 keeper.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but I just think it's Roma time. Or maybe Atalanta. I think it's going to be between one of those. I think Mourinho, the same way that he speaks a lot and he says that he's a special one, and of course he has a special place in my heart since I'm a Chelsea fan. He can actually maybe be that kind of coach on which he might not be reinventing the wheel anymore, but they will make the squad understand that they're playing for Roma. They're not playing for like a Chievo Verona. They're not playing for Salernitana or I don't know, small team. They're playing for Roma. They're playing for.
Yes.
They're in the capital. They have a great team. They have a very good squad, or at least a quite good squad. Let's go. And we still have Spinazzola to go back, hopefully.
Zaniolo's been back. He just scored his first goal like after so long. That's excellent news for Roma as well. Pellegrini, you can get more out of him in that midfield. Al Sharawi, if he can be on top form, maybe, but it depends. It depends on his day.
Al Sharawi is an Italian Chanaloglu. I've said it.
That one, El Shaarawy kind of hurt that many years ago. I really liked him at Milan. So
Me too. Me too.
They did. Karsdorp actually has improved. Like last year, he had a really good season with Roma. Let's see if he can keep that up. And like I said, with Patricio at the back, it's going to be tough to beat Roma. So they do have an excellent goalie at the back, leading the lines and not having to worry too much about goalkeeper mistakes compared to before.
Yes,
so
true. Since Allison.
Fuck it. I almost forgot about Allison, to be honest.
No, because you said like a long time ago. It hasn't been that long. It's been like 4 seasons.
But I think just because the track record Roma have had with goalies, it's hard to remember that they actually had because the one season they had Chesney and Allison, then they had Allison, so it's hard to remember all the good goalies, right? Because they had Goicoechea 1 year, and that was a mess for them. But
you went far, Goicoechea. Yeah.
So, anyways, they could definitely be a tough opposition, especially with Mourinho. Moving on to another newly promoted team in Salernitana. So, some names that they brought in. Probably a lot of these names you probably haven't heard of.
I don't have a clue. I didn't even know about Salernitana since 2 weeks ago, so I'm not even gonna bother pretending that I know something about it.
This is their first year back in almost 20 years or something like that, so it has been a very long time for them. So Ranieri from Fiorentina brought in Gagliolo from Parma, Simi from Crotone, who they bought on a permanent deal for about 5-6 million. Still not that old, but with the Crotone side that was relegated, scored at least 20 goals for them, which is incredible. Again, for 6 mil in today's market, that's cheap. Fiorillo is an experienced goalie. I'm not sure if he'll be their starter. Bonazzoli from Sampdoria on a loan.
Wait, 1 second. He's an experienced goalie?
I don't know if he's experienced.
He's 31 years old.
He's been around a while, maybe, because I remember him from when he was really young.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That's why a lot of these names I've known for years. So for me, it's
Yes, guys, I call out the YouTube channel owner on his own video. It happens.
That's what happens when you follow Serie A. You just know these players when they turn 18 and then remember them for like years.
Yeah, true.
Koulibaly from Udinese have been around a while. Strandberg, I remember when he was with Trapani. Trapani faltered as well, unfortunately. I'm from Trapani, so that's why that kind of hurts a bit. OB from
Trapani.
OB from Chievo, as we know, was a Inter reject as well. Jarozinski from Genoa, to name a few. And I know a lot of these names you probably definitely haven't heard of.
I know some, but not many.
Yes. And some of these departures, I just know maybe Mantovani, Kupitz, Mikai. To be honest, that's all I know. I feel it's one of those where they went for quantity rather than quality. I can't say. I have Salernitana as one of my teams to go down. I don't feel they have enough to stay up. And again, there's not much we can say on both these sides because a lot of these players I may know a little more than you with some of these players, but I don't feel that it's enough for Salernitana to really.
It's come to a point in which I already spoke basically about what we had to speak.
Yes. Sampdoria managed to get Caputo from Sassuolo, which was very surprising. Yeah. Dragozin. So now they also have two experienced strikers in Quagliarella and Caputo, but both know how to score in Serie A. So watch out, Serie A teams. Dragozin from Genoa, for Juve, and his turn again from Juve. Departures are Caprari, Murillo, Tonelli, Yankto to Getafe, Lagumina, other Bonazzoli to Salernitana, like I just said.
No, Lagumina came in.
I have here he went out to.
No, he just got bought for 5.5 million euros.
Yeah, and then he was loaned out to Como.
True. True. Yes.
And Gaston Ramirez let go, so not much. I feel again just a could be a mid-table finish. Let's see how Diversa, a new coach as well with Diversa, so let's see how they can do. So Sassuolo moving down. To be honest, I'm not sure who the signings are for.
Sampdoria will finish on 13th place.
And then Sassuolo selling Caputo, Bragnola, Locatelli, of course. They managed to keep a hold of Jeremy Boga. Not much, to be honest, with they did sell Marlon. He went the same way with the Deserbi to Shakhtar Donetsk. I feel that was a weird move for Deserbi at least maybe he gets to showcase what he can do in a different league outside of Italy.
Maybe he's just going for the money too, because he's going to make more money there than playing for Sassuolo for sure.
So let's see how they do without Locatelli and Caputo. But that means Sassuolo are going to mainly focus with young strikers Scamacca and Raspadori. But they do also manage to keep a hold of Berardi as well. We'll see how they can do. Spezia, one of the few teams I feel are going to go down. They did have a lot of acquisitions. Salcedo from Inter, Aguadello, Ray Minaj from Barcelona, Urabia from Sassuolo, Rezza from Atalanta, Kovalenko from Atalanta, Hristov. I don't know if can't remember if he's any good. I just remember that name. And their departures, Capricas, gone. Vignali, gone. Terzi, gone. Galabinov is gone, who was one of their more experienced strikers as well. Acampora to Benevento, and that's pretty much, and I know they're now Nzola's probably on his way out as well. So we'll see what Spezia can do, especially with Thiago Motta at the helm. It sucks because they did resign Italiano and he went to Fiorentina. And going back to Fiorentina, that was an excellent coaching change for them. So maybe he can get the most out of for them. Not much to really say with them. With Torino now, bringing in Bracalo, Dennis Praet from Leicester, Zima, Paul Bega from Milan, who can probably get some playing time. Piazza, Berisha is a veteran. Going to their departures, Iago Falque let go. Ujgani gone. Lianco to Southampton. Meite to Benfica. Sirigu to Genoa. Nkulu is let go. So now Torino's goalie being Milinkovic-Savic. But we'll see with the quality. It's hard with Belotti. I'm surprised even Belotti stayed at Torino despite all this. So maybe Torino could have a fighting chance, but it's very tough.
Fighting chance of what? Not getting relegated, right?
Yeah,
Fighting
because
chance of, I don't know, have the writing to breathe.
we're getting down the list. Just a couple more teams here. Udinese, Beto. I don't know if he's a Brazilian. I think he's Brazilian.
Probably.
New in Paris from
Let's see.
Atletico Madrid. That's a good option there. Marco Silvestri, like I said, replacing Musso and Padelli as an experienced.
Beto is Portuguese and Portuguese and from Guinea-Bissau.
Their departures: Fernando Llorente let go, Matos sold, Scufe, who was one of the wonder kids for a while, sold to Applewell, Koulibaly to Salernitana, Vidzeu on loan,
Just cross the island.
and then Musso sold again, and then DePaul, the big departure, like we said, finally got that big move. I know he was heavily linked with Milan, but I feel Atletico, it was a good choice. But now, honestly, I hate how stacked Atletico is because Milan do have to play them as well. So, but I feel Udinese are good. Oh yeah, sorry, Isaac Success. I forgot about him as well. But I know they do have that Watford link because of management shared ownership with Watford.
Oh,
So they do have. You'll see a lot of players from Watford moving back and forth between the two clubs. But otherwise, I do think they've started well so far. You know, they tied, coming back to tie Juve and then to beat Spezia Venezia, with De Lofeo leading the charge as well. I feel it's been a stable market for Udinese, and I think they can definitely finish mid-table from what they have. So
yeah, they're not gonna be fighting against relegation or anything like that. But don't expect them to do anything but maybe like fight for like 10th or 9th position.
exactly. They can definitely, I feel they'll definitely do better than last year for sure. And then going on to our last team here, newly promoted Venezia, who did beat out Cittadella in the playoff promotion. They definitely had a lot of signings here. Ethan Ampadu from Chelsea, De Vries from Philadelphia, Cayenne from Lazio, Caldara from Milan, Busio. They bought
Sporting K.
Sigurdsson, not the one that we know from, that's been probably charged. Tessman, give or take some of the names there, some departures. Tugardo, I remember him from Trapani, Filicioli out on loan. Not many other people that we know, but they definitely went a lot of the American route with a few of those names.
I think they've spent not necessarily spent money, but I think they brought a good amount of quantity of players to try to at least not get relegated, different from the other teams. Because if you compare the players that came in with the players that went out, that left the teams, basically all of them went to play for smaller teams, right? Serie B or Serie C. Just there is only two players here that went for Fiorentina and one for Inter, like finish loans being finished.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Let's see.
Yeah, again, they haven't scored in their first two games, but that's maybe one thing they needed up in front. But it's hard. Busio's still young, De Vries still young, Tessman's still young, so they did go with a lot of youth, especially even with Ampadu at the back. Caldara, if he can find full fitness, maybe he can regain some of his form. We'll have to see, because he's struggled with injuries ever since coming to Milan and constantly being loaned out. It's going to be tough for Venezia. I do feel they have enough to stay at the top, but they do need things to start changing around for them.
Yeah, the average of players that just came in is 22 years, 22.9 years. So yes, that just corroborates what you just said. Very young squad.
Yeah, so they are definitely going to youth route, but I think especially when you are newly promoted, you do need some experience in there. No, even if it's not Serie A experience, just top flight experience from a top league kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the one thing that's missing with Venezia. I just want them to stay. Their jerseys are beautiful. I just want to see their jerseys in action. You know,
Like I'm just looking at the players' ages here. Not a single one above 28. All of them are 28 or lower or younger.
like I said, a lack of experience probably could be the one thing that holds them back. But with a lot of youth, they could change a few things. Who knows? Anyways, that was our very long discussion topic review of everything. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. Our little ramble between that. Any other closing thoughts about everything, Jonathan?
I still think that even though the league got weaker, it's still gonna be top three to watch. And I think that now more than any other time over the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years, 15 years, we have a more balanced league on which you cannot necessarily count with the big dogs to be down the underdogs all the time. I think it's gonna be way more balanced than ever
Mm-hmm.
before, or at least over the last 20 to 15 seasons.
Yeah. So definitely a one season to look out for. It's going to be a lot more competitive considering how competitive last season was. But really, it's really up for grabs this year. We can say my predictions again could be well off from when I first did it. We'll see once how it changes in the winter. As we know that that's the second half of the season is where the real season starts. We can say because that's when everyone's fighting to finish their objectives and claim the spots that they want to get. Hopefully, again, your team did well in the Calciomercato. And, if you guys agree with anything we've said about some of the players, teams discussing, be sure to comment below. Let us know. If you have not already done so, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to receive notifications on all our latest videos. Follow us on Twitter, Calcio_bros, and we hope to hear from you guys soon. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Have a good long weekend.